Welcome back to Rockstar 101. His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He is the Rockstar. Class is in session. And we got a fantastic episode lined up. I got to tell you, I found this one story that we're going to get to at the end of this episode. But first, if you're here, that means you like us. So make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going down there, you're subscribing to Shim's channel, you're clicking the like button, comment below on certain things. Because on the last episode, we did the best rock of 1989. And that playlist is actually available now for you guys. It's up on Spotify. You can find it easily just by searching at The Real Brandalorian. And I've gotten a lot of feedback on some other songs to be added. So we'll get to that stuff, in a couple of episodes from now. But we are going to do a deep dive more into kind of the television of 1989. But here's your tease. Are you ready for this?
Ready for it. Bring it.
So there was, I'm trying to think of how I want to tease this specifically for this episode. The FBI found a video. I take it back. Here, it was a farmer that found it. There was some weather balloons with a recorder and a VHS tape in it. And a farmer found it in, I believe it was Wisconsin. No, I'm sorry, it was Michigan. He finds this thing in Michigan. And when they watch the video, it looks like it's a snuff film. It looks like there's a dead body. It looks like there's all these people kind of standing around, like, what the hell is going on? And then for a year, they're trying to find out who's the dead body and who are these other people in this video.
Right.
I have that answer.
Okay. Jesus.
I'm telling you, because I've teased this to Shim a couple times and he's getting antsy because he wants to hear the actual answer to that. But I do have some other really cool tidbits here from 1989. The one that somehow we I don't know how we didn't talk about this in the last episode, but 1989, that was the first Best Hard Rock Metal Grammy awarded. Do you remember that? That was 1989.
I wasn't paying attention to the Grammys at that point. No, but I think you messaged me about it and I can't believe we didn't touch on it.
The big thing is, do you remember who won?
I only know who won because you messaged me, but I never would have known. I would have assumed it was like Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have assumed.
That's what you figured that'd be the first Grammy would go to Metallica. No. It went to a band that plays the flute. Jethro Tull. They won the Best Hard Rock Metal, the first ever.
But doesn't Metallica... that goes back to show you that the Grammys and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, it's run by old white guys. Yeah, because then Metallica, I remember talking to a couple of radio promo guys a couple of years ago, and they were like, I worked, like they're radio promo guys who they go around and they promote records to radio stations, and Metallica was coming up, and they were like, in 85, when Metallica was coming up, like people were terrified. People would go to Metallica's show, and I had two guys say I had to leave halfway through just to take a break. Because it was that intense. Like, and it ain't like Metallica in the 90s. In the 80s, Metallica was just insane. So that would terrify people at the Grammys. They would have heard it and been like, this isn't music.
They would have done what Huey Lewis did in Back to the Future. Do you remember what he told Michael J. Fox when his band was performing for the
I'm sorry. So dance? You're just too damn loud.
Yeah, you're just too damn loud, or too darn loud.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that's another thing we're going to get to in the next episode, where we're going to get more into the movies of 1989.
Which I can't wait
Back
for.
to the Future 2 came out in 1989.
Great.
So we got our flux capacitors in full effect, baby. But here's some other really cool things that happened in 1989, or some things that occurred, I should say. And here's my question for you. Have you ever heard of the Freshman 15?
Never.
Really?
Never heard of that.
If I say Freshman 15, what do you think I'm talking about?
I think it's like an attempt at an early 80s hip-hop band that had like 15 rappers in it before they realized you can't do that. The closest you can get is Wu-Tang.
No. The Freshman 15, that was a term that was...
Doesn't that sound like a horrible hip-hop band from the 80s, though? Like the Freshman 15?
The Freshman 15?
Yeah, and they were like, let's see how many rappers we can cram into one fucking group.
Yeah, I think Wu-Tang maxed that out.
Yeah.
So the Freshman 15, that is what happens to women when they go to college. They put on 15 pounds.
What?
You've never heard that before?
No, never heard that.
Yeah, it was always like, oh, she got the freshman 15. And it's kind of how going from high school to college, all of a sudden you're having to be more of an adult. Your body is changing, so you're naturally putting on weight. And it kind of became a knock where it's like, oh, she got the freshman 15. And apparently this was coined by Teen Magazine, or the Teen Magazine 17 back in 1989. And in fact, they researched this.
Right.
And it's only about 5 pounds that people will gain. But and I'm pretty sure it happens to guys too. But I think the point at the time was more focused on the females.
That's cold, man. That's cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that didn't happen here. Well, I didn't go to college. I wouldn't know. I never went to college. And I stayed stick thin the whole time.
That a kid.
Yeah.
Another really interesting thing that happened in 1989 was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He wrote and played the bass line for Young MC's Bust a Move. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't just stand there, bust a move.
I didn't know he wrote that. I thought that was Bootsy.
Apparently, it was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He never received a songwriting credit or any royalties. He was paid $200 for his studio time. The song ended up going #1 and has sold millions of records. Of course, Flea, not exactly a guy who hasn't sold millions of records himself.
Yeah, but he is within his right. Did he write that line? He didn't just play it, he wrote it.
Yes, it says here, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers wrote and played the bass line.
Yeah, that's worth suing for, straight up. Like, when you got a song that is now a piece of culture, historical culture, and you're like, it went #1, it makes God knows how many millions of dollars a year, you're like, I'm going to spend a couple $100,000 and be like, I actually, like, take the bass line out, it ain't a song anymore.
Yeah,
like there's only like Jamie talked to me about this. There's 10 songs in the world maybe that you're like, if you don't have the bass line, you don't have the song. You got Billie Jean, you got Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. You got a handful of songs where you're like, okay, the bass line, there's no song without the bass. If you wrote that bass line, you better be getting paid. Like Flea should be getting paid. Rockstar 101, boom. What?
And it's interesting mentioning Flea here because I'm going to tease next episode where we're talking about the movies again, because Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, that was released in 1989. And here's follow me here. We were watching that movie yesterday, and the beginning of that movie has River Phoenix. Do you remember River Phoenix?
Oh God, yeah. He was amazing.
And so he passed away, I think it was 1993, around Flea. Flea was there.
Yeah.
And so is John Frusciante. For a long time, John Frusciante of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, people thought that, and it might still be, this might have actually been what happened. He was the one that gave River the drugs that ended up killing him.
Who? Flea?
John Frusciante.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Look, when we get to 1993, let me kind of explain something to people, because as Shimon and I were figuring out kind of Rockstar 101 and where we're going with this stuff, is one of the things that we had talked about is we are really enjoying kind of going into these different years and looking at different aspects. Of course, the rock star, rock and roll aspect. But here we're going to get into TV shows here in just a couple of minutes. And then we got movies. And then at the end of the month, we're going to kind of recap everything. We'll talk about the songs that people recommended that we add to the playlist, TV shows that people recommend we watch, movies, the same thing. And so we're kind of doing more of a deep dive into these different years. And when we get to 1993, that is a crazy story with what happened to River Phoenix. And
remind me at the end of this,
Flea and John were there.
Yeah. And so this is totally relevant, but in terms of having an Australian perspective on it, have you ever heard the story about when Flea got on stage and knocked out the singer of the headlining band at a festival?
No.
Okay, so check this out. This is horrible. I didn't understand the story. I learned that Flea and River were that tight because of this story. So there was a band in the mid to late 90s. It was called Tism. And it was a gag band of a bunch of guys in spandex onesies, like jumpsuits, right? And
how do you spell Tism? I'm going to look them up.
TISM. I think it was Tism. And they had...
Oh, shit. Oh, they were like masks in the whole nine.
They wore them out. There was basically if you imagine the scene from Pulp Fiction where there's the gimp, it's like 10, 12 gimps on stage.
Except he's in white.
Yeah, and they're all dressed up, and they had these silly songs that were always really kind of vulgar. And their big hit was I'm on the drug. And the chorus goes, I'm on the drug, I'm on the drug, I'm on the drug that killed River Phoenix, I'm on the drug, I'm on the drug.
Wow.
And so that was their big hit. Hey, Red Hot Chili Peppers is headlining. TISM is right under them, or 2 bands under them. They were big this year. This was their big year. He's just watching, hanging out, having a drink or whatever, and then he hears that song. He'd never heard it. He's side of stage, and they're dancing around. I'm on the drug that killed River Phoenix. I'm on the drug. He walked on stage and knocked out the lead singer. He just fucking decked him in front of 10,000 people. It was so dope. It was the dopest thing ever. And that was when I was like, why did Flea walk on stage? You read up 2 articles later, and you're like, oh, okay. Fair enough. I probably would have done the same thing. That's some cold shit.
Oh, shit.
Like, in Australia, if you did it in America, there'd probably be a lot of backlash. In Australia, we were removed enough where River wasn't a part of youth culture. He was just a movie star that died. Mm-hmm. In America, it was like he was
the next big thing.
He was Kurt Cobain for young actors. He was a rock star actor.
He was the it thing, man.
Yeah. And he was amazing, too. Like, you watch his... I remember the first time I saw River Phoenix was... the one with 4 boys in it. That's the coming of age story. What's the one?
Stand by Me.
Stand by Me. Great movie. And when he has that scene at the end where he starts crying, you're like, oh, he's the top shelf. He's going to be huge. Totally. And he was like 13.
Stop and think about all the actors that were in there.
Oh yeah, they were all in that. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. But that's my River Phoenix story. I'm on the drug, River Phoenix. It's a catchy fucking tune, man.
Okay, so as we're going chronologically, we started with 89. We're eventually going to get to a point where we run out of years. We're going to have to go back because I do want to get into that because if you look at Stand By Me, Will Wheaton was in that, River Phoenix, Jerry O'Connell, Corey Feldman.
Holy crap. Yeah, it was seminal.
Oh, Kiefer Sutherland. He was the bad guy. He was that bad kid. He was the a-hole.
Yeah, they were all in it.
God damn, that was a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway. All right, so what are we doing here? Let me go back to my 1989 notes as we had the Red Hot Chili Peppers there. One more other interesting factoid before we get to the TV shows of 1989 is the AOL. AOL
didn't happen here. You got to keep in mind
when America Online. So I can't
when
imagine
you think about
Australia.
We didn't have cable TV until the mid 90s.
Damn.
Yeah, we didn't have cable, and then when we got it, I think it was late 90s we got cable. And, and internet only really, honestly, dude, like, internet only picked up a few years ago when we got this thing called the NBN, the National Broadband Network, and it still sucks. So we are way behind on the tech stuff. Way behind.
Interesting. Well, did you know the movie, though, right?
The movie? Yeah, which one?
The movie with Tom Hanks and was it Meg Ryan that was in that?
Which one?
The movie
Sleepless in Seattle.
No, there was a movie called You've Got Mail.
You dropped out. I missed it. You've Got Mail. Got it. Yeah.
Oh shit! I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, sorry.
The movie, man.
Right.
Yeah. So that was obviously about AOL, and it was back in 1989. Those sounds were recorded for the welcome and You've Got Mail for AOL. They were recorded on a cassette deck back in 1989. And then obviously that kind of morphed into this whole thing. There was an interesting article that I had read in a Maxim magazine years ago, and they were talking to a bunch of different voiceover people who you would know their voice from something big. Like there was something big that this person had done. And I think one of them was the You've Got Mail guy. And he said what he liked to do is he would go, if he was in a Best Buy, he wouldn't go there specifically to do this, but if he was in a Best Buy or where they have computers and they're clicking on things and that sound goes off or they're on AOL, he'll just stand behind him and he goes, "You've got mail." Exactly like the way that it sounds, just to fuck with people. He was the voice. He was the guy that recorded that sound.
That's awesome.
So... anyway, let's move on to the TV shows here because we had the 2 big shows that kicked off in 1989. You had The Simpsons, and then you had Seinfeld. You said Seinfeld did make it down.
Oh, yeah. No, all the main... This is the funny thing. All the big movies and big TV shows, they all made it down, but they were syndicated network shows. Anything that was more under the radar or Americana, but Seinfeld was... I mean, Seinfeld was the biggest show in history behind Simpsons, right? It's basically the most successful sitcom, I think, behind The Simpsons.
Yeah, I mean, it's considered up there,
yeah.
In that pantheon of the greatest shows of all time, which is interesting because in 1989, when it debuted, I believe it debuted in the summer. It was originally called the Seinfeld Chronicles, and it bombed.
Oh, yeah, it bombed. Yeah, I've heard about that.
And people compare that now to, if, you'll see these shows with poor ratings in their first season, and they get yanked off of the schedule and they get canceled.
Yeah.
And people are like, somebody had done that to Seinfeld. So we never would have gotten Seinfeld for 9 years because it ran from 89 to 98.
Yeah.
It's like, well, not every show can be Seinfeld, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, I agree with the former. I actually completely agree. It goes back to the concept of bands, and the first person that ever said it was Bono from U2 when he was at a conference for radio people and record labels at the beginning of the 2000s, and he just leaned in the mic and was like, if it was up to you now, there would never be another U2. You would never give a band or an artist the opportunity to grow, to be fully formed and realize. You would never give a TV show a chance to have a season and learn, look at the ratings, get feedback. It's like, how do you expect to get, there's never going to be any more greatness. And I'm inclined to agree at this moment in time, but there are things coming up that are going to afford people the ability to do that. But yeah, I mean, but Seinfeld was amazing. And when was the Cosby Show?
Cosby Show was still on at that time. So here I have the top 10 shows from 1989. You had the Cosby Show, and I don't know if this is based on ratings or what, but it was the Cosby Show's number 1. Number 2 is Roseanne.
Yep.
I specifically remember Roseanne was the show where we got to stay up late.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was the one show. I think it was on at 9, and our bedtime was 9. But the night that Roseanne was on, my sister and I were allowed to stay up that extra half an hour to watch Roseanne.
Right.
And that was a brilliant show. Like, it was incredibly well done. Yeah. Even the update has been pretty good. It's just her kind of flying off the handle, and essentially her getting canceled, but her show not, was what happened.
Is the Connor family still running? The Connors? Is it still going?
Yeah, the Connors is still going. They killed her off.
That's fantastic.
So, because the way that it wrapped up with her on the show, that season ended with her having a pill problem. Like, I think she had like a hip issue, and she ended up having a pill problem that kind of sparked from that. She was hiding pills around the house, but then when they brought the show back as the Connors, it was she had died of an overdose or something like that.
It's intense. So I have 2 points to get to here, but I want to hear the top 10 shows, and then I want to go back to how it relates to now. But go ahead.
Okay, so then number 3,
Before I forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do it if you're following us and what we're doing and you like it. It supports us, doesn't cost you any money. We would really appreciate it. Cheers.
And it only takes like a half a second. Cheers was number 3.
Next.
A Different World.
What the fuck is that?
That was a spin-off of the Cosby Show when Cosby's kid went to college. And I can't remember which one it is. I always get those damn daughters mixed up. And I think she was only on the show for 1 season. And then they kind of had this core cast that was able to keep the show going, and it moved on.
And it was successful. We never got that down here. We got the Cosby Show, never got the other one.
Oh, yeah. The series originally centered around Denise Huxtable, which was Lisa Bonet, and the life of students at Hillman College, a fictional historically black college in Virginia. It was inspired by student life at historically black colleges and universities. And it debuted in 87, so it was already a big deal.
Wow.
By 89.
Do you know the story? Do you know the story about Aquaman and Lisa Bonet?
Yeah, they're married.
Yeah, but do you know that he had been like coveting her since he was like 13 watching those shows?
Damn, really?
He was literally like, I want to be with Lisa Bonet. And then like...
Well, when you look like that, you can kind of get whatever you want.
Or him or her?
Both.
They both. Yeah, that's a good point. But like
I mean, she went from Lenny Kravitz to him. Like, good for you, Lisa.
Yeah, no,
Bonet.
she's crushing it. But he literally started drinking. I think I read that he started drinking Guinness because he knew that was her drink. And when he met her, he wanted to order a Guinness, and he did, and that was how they sparked their first conversation. Like he manifested that shit for a decade. Good for him. Anyway, yeah. What are the other shows?
America's Funniest Home Videos.
Of course, I hate that show. Go ahead, next.
The Golden Girls.
I love that show. Beautiful. I got
Yeah?
it. Yeah, I loved it. I lived for the Golden Girls, man. Yeah.
60 Minutes.
Okay, fair enough.
Remember, you just hear that tick, 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 tick. And here in the United States, what happens during the like the fall and winter time is you always get the 60 minutes, because that's when football's on Sundays.
Right.
And you always get the 60 Minutes will be viewed right after this podcast, except on the West Coast. The Wonder Years.
Yeah, makes sense.
I never watched it.
Dude, The Wonder Years was...
Never got into it.
It was the beginning of reality TV. Having the voice in the head narrate directly to you, breaking that fourth wall. People underrate that show dramatically. Now, every show, you know, you got The Office, you got Modern Family and all that sort of stuff, talking to the camera, but that was, yeah, really where it changed.
I think one of these other shows is a spin-off as well, but we just went from The Wonder Years. Empty Nest. Did that make it down to us?
No, I don't remember. Oh, wait, maybe it did. Who was in that?
It's not anybody really that you...
What about Perfect Strangers?
It was a spin-off. It was a spin-off of The Golden Girls.
Oh, okay. Do you remember Perfect Strangers?
Oh, hell yeah. Balky?
Balky Butakumas!
Oh, my God. Don't you remember the thing that he would do when he was bowling?
Yeah.
That thing? Come on, man. Come on. Of course.
Ridiculous. Like, yeah, that was the
That
was the quintessential show for one-liners and goofy shit. Like, perfect odd couple concept. Where was he from? Balky Butakumas. He was from the motherland.
I don't know. It aired from 86 to 93, so it would have still been big in 89. Where does it show where Balky is from?
Dude, Balky, that show, I used to watch that. That was the goofiest, stupidest show ever.
Like that show, My Two Dads. Didn't you ever see My Two Dads?
They never did My Two Dads. But I wanted to point out something interesting about that people probably wouldn't realize about...
Mypos?
Mypos.
It's Mypos, right?
Mypos.
He was from the Greek island of Mypos.
Yeah, that's probably it. That sounds familiar. That's ringing a bell. Roseanne, right? Let's go back to Roseanne and Seinfeld. You got the top three. Roseanne, Seinfeld, and Cosby Show. Cosby Show was the most vanilla white bread show of the three. If you think about it, right? And then you think about, okay, these shows were very popular, but the Roseanne and Seinfeld, if you really think about it, the show is about loser assholes. That's what the show's about. And it was the most successful show around. I'm just painting a picture. The Roseanne, they were trailer trash by definition, but they embraced it. And it was the struggles of the general family. And then for Seinfeld, it was, they cared about nothing. As a reason the show was about nothing is because they didn't have any plight or struggles. It was designed to be about the smallest possible things. But people who make big deals out of small things, we define as assholes in the real world. If you meet a guy that makes a big deal out of something that doesn't matter all the time, you're like, dude, that guy's a fucking asshole. He's such a hassle to be around. Fuck that guy. The only reason the show is successful was because everyone thinks that way, but we don't talk that way. So it's fulfilling an unrequited action for us. They're the assholes that are like, well, I wish I could talk that way, but I want to keep my job and my relationship. I don't want to fucking break up with them because they eat their peas one at a time. I'll just roll with it. Like, but if you, and then you go to, this is the thing that I find fucking hilarious, right? Some of the content that was in Roseanne when the show was first successful is so politically incorrect and racially based and everything. Like, it's just real. The reason that the show was successful was because it was real. Then you have Roseanne re-up 20 years later, and she puts out a tweet that is politically incorrect. It's very politically incorrect, but it's not criminal, and it's just her opinion. And they cancel her. Not like, oh, we would like to clarify that we don't support her beliefs, we just have her show. They just cut the bitch. They just cut her. And the show that they were making all this money, like, you can't do any of this stuff anymore. And it's one thing to say, the reason that I find it interesting is because you look back at all of the negative things that happened in the 80s, for example, because we're in the 80s. And there's a lot of things you can point out and you go, I'm glad that doesn't happen and we're going to make efforts to stop that because negative things came from it. But now they're stopping people from saying things that we said 20 years ago. Nothing negative came from what Roseanne's show was about, from posing different ideas, politically incorrect ideas, posing the question or stating your position on something. Stating, I don't like this guy, I think that guy's full of shit because they do this.
I think that her show was groundbreaking in the sense that she was willing to tackle topics nobody else was.
Yeah.
I remember specifically, and this is what blew my mind, is that she got canceled. In one of the final episodes she was on, the whole premise of the episode is the neighbors freaking out because there is a family of Muslims in the neighborhood.
Right.
And she's in a grocery store, and the clerk treats the lady like crap.
Right.
Treats this like just like garbage. And Roseanne goes off on her about how dare you treat another human being like that. Mm. And it was like her show was always really good at that, but then we canceled her for a really shitty tweet.
Yeah. That's the thing that is really the most telling thing. But I think you don't realize it until you do things like what we're doing right now on Rockstar 101. Click the like button, click the subscribe button and the notification. But if you go back and you watch historically, if you look left and you go back and you go, what was she doing? Why do we even care what this bitch says? Like, why do we care? Why does she have a show? Oh, that's right. 20 years ago, she did something. What was it? No one even paid attention to, like, you hired her. You were happy for her to fucking piss people off in the right direction as long as it made you your money. Now it's still going to make you money, but she's pissing in the wrong direction and you're like, well, we're going to cut it. It's not worth the money anymore. We're not. Mm-hmm. We're worried about the backlash. You're worried about, I don't even know. But that show was I'm sure like it was groundbreaking in so many levels because it dealt with family issues, but it was one of the only shows that I ever saw, man, that in terms of being and it was really good because it was in terms of being a white male, right? And already as I say this, I hope everyone goes, oh shit, we're getting on the white male train. What do you got to say? But here's the point. There was a whole episode, and as a kid, it was really, really, really important and relevant to me coming up to become a man, because you got a scene with Dan around the table and there's an overweight guy, a black guy, and a Mexican guy, and they're playing cards and they're complaining about their problems.
Poker games.
Yeah, and they're complaining about their problems, and Dan talks about his problems, and the other three guys at the table say, you are a middle-aged, middle-class white male, you don't have problems. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I'm not going to have problems when I'm older. And I thought, I really was like, oh, so wait, when I get to that age, what's it going to be? Because I didn't even think of myself in that way until you see it on TV and you go, you need to think of yourself in relation to other people that are going through life in a different way. And then later in the episode, you get to a point where Dan's going through one of his issues and he's trying to just be like, this isn't a problem. This isn't a real problem. My friends are going through stuff that's harder than this. And my wife's going through stuff that's harder. And he breaks down. And and you look at it and you go, oh, there are certain problems that are not as important, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there are problems that are fundamental that don't care about your color or your age or your gender. They're like emotional problems. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, and now you look at the world now, and when you start to be a father and you start to be a husband or you start to do anything, there are things that are placed in your mind of what your role is in a situation as the type of person you are. You're not a young woman or an older guy or a black guy or whatever. So you're like, what am I allowed to feel? What does the world tell me I'm supposed to feel? And we all know the racial and genetic things that are like, well, if you're this type of person, we expect you to talk this way, think this way, and feel that way, and that's it. And it goes for everyone. And Roseanne and The Cosby Show was perfect at breaking down all of those types of emotional stigma stereotypes for an African American community. And I know for me, I never even thought of black people as anything different at all until I watched The Cosby Show and I went, oh, they have to deal with different shit than we do. Mm-hmm. It didn't occur to me. And as a kid, it's valuable to learn that stuff. It's really important to talk about those issues. Now, what do we talk about? Oh, your titty was out on your Instagram pic. And that's a whole episode. Whoops.
Or there's people trying to cancel Eminem now, apparently, too. So.
They're trying to cancel Eminem?
That's what I've heard. I don't think it's
please.
actually a big thing. I think that I think people are sharing it more than the actual attempt to cancel Eminem is.
I think they're gonna take his albums off Spotify. Good luck.
I don't fucking know.
Good
They're
luck. Too much money.
Yeah, I see all the responses. Like, you're gonna try to cancel Eminem. This dude has been getting like under people's skin for over 20 fucking years. Yeah. Good luck.
I think, and he wouldn't give a fuck if you canceled him. He'd be like, "Cool, my tour just sold out. I haven't even booked it yet."
He responded with a track called "Tone Deaf."
Yeah.
So, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant too. You can find it on YouTube.
I'm watching that right now.
I think he just dropped it March 5th was when he did. So anyway, so wrapping up this episode here, we got to get to what I was teasing, man.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Let's do it. We're actually right on time. 30 minutes. Let's do it.
I'm telling you, we know what we're doing. Oh shit! I got some other things from 1989, but I'm going to save that for the next episode because we're still going to be in 1989 in the next episode talking about movies and stuff like that.
Back to the Future too. It's like we're still in 1989.
Yeah. So I'm looking up things that happened in 1989. So the story goes, there were some weather balloons that were floating through the skies of Michigan, and they came down and they landed on this farmer's plot of land. And when he goes to the balloons, he notices there's a video camera attached to the balloons. So as he's looking at it, I believe he ends up looking at the tape, and it looks like it's a snuff film, or at least it looks like it is somebody's dead, and it's like a cult killing or a gang killing of some sort. Right. And it's just this dead body, and you got all these people around him, and the camera's like moving up, and you can't really see what exactly is going on. So as he finds this, he then, of course, sends it to the authorities. They spend a full year trying to track down who filmed this video, who the dead body is, any information. They spend a year on this thing. Do you know who the dead body was?
I want to know. Tell me.
It was Trent Reznor.
Oh.
It was their video for Down in It. And what they had done is that they were using the balloons so they could get a sky shot, and the balloons broke away. They filmed it in Chicago, and the balloons broke away. So they're like, there it goes. And then it's just that camera was gone.
Yeah.
And it was the video for Down in It.
And the FBI spent a lot of money trying to be like, who is this? So he made it look real enough that they thought this was a real.
Yeah, there was news stories, man. And I found it's hilarious. Why, if you're here on YouTube watching Rockstar 101, look up on YouTube just 9 Inch Nails hard copy. Because do you remember the old show Hard Copy? Yeah. Was that in Australia at all?
Yeah. We had it
kind of an investigative reporting. Hard-hitting show, and then they ended up kind of becoming really hokey and stuff. And it's hilarious because when they talked to Trent Reznor about it, he's kind of laughing. He's like, that's funny that they didn't know who that was, or the whole situation. And the reporter is just a dick, where he's like, and Trent Reznor thinks it's funny that the police spent all this money. Oh, and when they call, he's like, Trent Reznor is the lead singer of 9 Inch Nails. I know, I agree. It should be called 9 Inch Noise.
Oh.
Like, he legitimately said that. It's hilarious. It's like a 10-minute video, and it's absolutely hilarious. So if you can,
check that out.
Go from our video, and then look that up. Look up the 9 Inch Nails hard copy. And that's what it was. They were filming Down in It, and the balloons took the recorder away, and it landed in Michigan.
No one looked at it and went, that's that famous guy.
There was well, remember 1989, he wasn't that big.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Don't you remember?
Yeah,
oh, crap.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
I was looking this up. Do you remember the band that he was in before 9 Inch Nails?
No.
God damn it. There's videos of him. Slam Bamboo.
Slam Bamboo? What the fuck is that?
You've never seen Slam Bamboo?
Is it a hair metal band wannabe thing? Is it
horrible? No, it is 80s, man. I'm telling you. So here's what you need to do for anybody who's watching this.
Here's what you gotta do. Here's what you need to do.
You need to go from here. Right. First of all, make sure you click the like button and subscribe and everything down below. But then we're going to send you over to, I want you to look up the 9 Inch Nails hard copy video. Watch that. It's 10 minutes. It's absolutely hilarious. But then I want you to go look up Slam Bamboo. That's the band that Trent Reznor was in before 9 Inch Nails, and it is fucking hilarious. I'm serious. Like you will not stop laughing.
Slam
because
Bamboo.
It's these guys, and they're kind of like doing that weird like 80s stuff, and they got like the flock of seagulls hair, and then in the back there's Trent Reznor in all black playing the keyboards. It's fucking hilarious, man.
Just literally hitting the keyboards like, get me out of here. This is gonna come
Oh
back
my
and haunt
god!
me.
Like he's singing backup vocals. It is. Oh my god! It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. But that's the perfect way to wrap up this episode of Rockstar 101. Which, by the way, really quick before we head out, you can go to twitch.tv/Hollywood Rebellion. You can get in on Shim stuff. You can also find me on Twitch. It's at The Real Brandalorian. Especially if you're here on YouTube, comment below any of the topics that we're discussing or anything that you guys maybe think that we missed. By all means, comment below for us and let us know what we should have been talking about. Because coming up in the next episode, we're staying in 1989, but we're moving on to more movies, and I also have some other interesting facts and stuff like that for.
Boom. In the meantime, until then, his name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He's the Rockstar Class.
Oh, here we go. They've already tuned out, mate. They've already.